How's it going, Postcard Pros? Happy Monday, happy Eclipse Day. Today we're going to be interviewing Brad Kruger, the CEO of Direct Mail 2.0, which is doing some really interesting things in the tracking space and the offline to online sort of merge of marketing technologies. So let's see if we can get him in on the stream here.
Hey, Brad.
It worked.
Yeah, it worked.
Technology.
Yeah, we made it happen.
Yeah.
So I gave a quick introduction. So why don't you tell me more about what you do and about what your company does, and we'll go from there.
All right. So I'm the well. First of all, Jordan, thanks for having me. I'm always happy to be here and talk about what I do because I love internet marketing and technology. So this is a great forum. So again,
thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Yeah.
I'm just going to share this out myself.
Okay. Yeah. Take your time.
Give me a second here. Well, I don't know how to do it. Oh, wait. Hold on. Here we go. We'll see what happens. So it's. I think this is being shared on my personal Facebook. So we'll see.
Oh, cool. Great.
But
great.
Anyways, about 6 months or so ago, I was asked by a fellow entrepreneur to come and helm this company, Direct Mail 2.0. And basically our business model is to take old world offline technology, you know, the printing and mailing of postcards or direct mail in one form or another, and connect it to online digital technology and use that online digital technology to help improve ROI, to demonstrate effectiveness or ineffectiveness in some cases of direct mail. And we are constantly adding new features. I mean, literally probably every quarter of ways to create a synergistic campaign with a direct mail piece by adding phone tracking, by adding Google retargeting, by adding Facebook retargeting, and there's a few other things in the pipeline, again, that will take direct mail to the next level and make it as trackable and as efficient as online marketing.
Yeah, I think the tracking piece is what's really interesting to me and the folks that are watching. So can you walk me through from the creation of a piece all the way to maybe an online retargeting ad? Like,
sure. Walk
me through that process.
So basically, I mean, you know, not to bore anyone, but everybody knows how you design and create a direct mail piece. And in this case, let's take your postcard. So your postcard has some kind of imagery on it and some type of call to action, right?
Sure.
So that goes out to the hundreds or thousands of people on the mailing list. And from there, we do add-ons where we will create a call tracking number. So for example, there's a phone number, call us now at. And it's through a digital process where that call is then forwarded to the business. The call is recorded so that the mailer can actually monitor those calls, see how their staff members are answering and responding to those calls. We also provide some KPIs that include, you know, graphs of how many calls per day, and you can track it with the mailing. So if the mailing is targeted to hit on a Wednesday, how many calls came on that Wednesday? And when more mailings hit on Thursday or Friday, how many calls coincided with those days? And every one of those calls is tracked and recorded securely, I may add, so that only the client is able to access those calls. That's one aspect. The next aspect is most companies have a website, and it's a pretty well-known fact that when someone receives a postcard or a direct mail piece, the first thing they want to do is, well, let's check them out online. So pretty much everybody's familiar with Google retargeting. So we create a campaign for them specifically. So we give them a pixel that they post on their website, and when someone types in their website or a landing page or wherever they're being directed to from the mail piece, they're now being tracked. They have a cookie in their browser, and anytime they are browsing the internet amongst hundreds of thousands of sites, Google will serve them ads. And the key here is you take the creative that was on the postcard, which they saw in their mailbox.
Yeah.
you make a similar creative, so when they see that same creative on their in an ad, it's number of impressions over, like anything else. How have brands built their brand awareness? The same impression over and over. So now instead of seeing that mailing piece once in your mailbox, you're seeing it 2-3 times a day. And so you're building that brand awareness. You're going to encourage clicks, and there's all sorts of statistics about it takes 2 to 3 to a dozen times of seeing the same message to actually provoke a response. That's exactly what this is designed to do. And then we take it to the next step with social media. Social media has the same exact methodology as Google retargeting. So, but one step better, because if you're on the Google Display Network, you may be on CNN for 5 minutes, or you may go to weather.com for 2 minutes. But the difference with Facebook is people tend to stay there 20, 30 minutes at a time and do it several times a day. So the stickiness is much more effective. So once they've gone to that website, now they have the Google Pixel, and every time they look at their feed, Google or Instagram, they're now seeing that ad again. So they go to CNN, they see it. They go and read their Facebook feed, they now see it a couple more times. So now you're just sort of geometrically increasing the imagery from that original mailing. And well, I'll let you take it from there. I mean, I can talk
that's what I want to hear. I'm really curious about how you determine who came from the mailing piece to your website to cookie them. Can you just like talk to me about how you connect those two people?
In a lot of cases, especially with larger brands, they'll create a landing page. The landing page is specific, or they'll create a special phone number just for this. So it's exactly from that mailing piece. Now, I'm not talking about the hyper personalization of pearls or QR codes that we know the name of the person. This is more of a broader sort of casting a wide net. But just for the fact that, let's say it's acetools.card, /card. So they type that in, and now you know who came from that offering, whether it's a phone call or because if you don't put that pixel specifically on that page, well, then they're not going to be tracked to that ad. Sure.
So if people find that page via Google and they're searching your card, you just track them just the same, right?
Absolutely.
Great.
So if you put it on their homepage, you're going to track them anyway. I mean, some people say, what's the difference? You want to attract as many people as you can. So a lot of our clients will actually just put it on their homepage and capture off the phone so we don't get calls during this.
Oh. That happened the last time I live streamed. Actually, I got a call. I told my friend later, I was like, yo, why you got to call me during a live stream?
It happens every time.
I hope that wasn't a client.
There's other people that can help with that. So try not to give clients my cell phone number.
So walk me through what conversion numbers look like here. I mean, if you're doing a direct mail piece and then you're doing retargeting and then you're doing targeting on Facebook, I imagine that you're able to bump conversion a whole lot.
Yeah, we're seeing, and the numbers vary widely depending on anything, but it's usually a 20 to 70% lift. And I know that's a wide range, but 20 to 70% lift. But when you consider the cost, it's usually only about a 10% increase in cost. So if you're getting a 20% lift in conversion, that 10% is really a no-brainer. And if you get up to a 70% lift in conversion, well, wow, the ROI is fabulous. So, to give you an example, if someone's going to do a 5,000 to 10,000 piece mailing of postcards or a direct mail offering, it costs about 10% to add this product on. So, it could run 3,000 or so. It's about $300 to $500 add-on. But if you're going to get a 20% lift, I guess it also depends on the value of the item you're selling. If you're selling cars or homes or financial services, that 20% lift is huge. If you're on a $5 widget, it may not be quite as significant. So a lot of it depends on the final value of the product being sold.
Yeah, that's what, I talk a lot about my customers. Like, look, the mailbox is this huge opportunity that is not being taken advantage of right now. I opened my mailbox last week. There was nothing in it. And how does that happen with your, with your inbox? Like, never is the case. You can't wake up ever.
Impossible.
Receive
I
no
don't know
emails.
if you've heard about the new service from the post office, Informed Delivery, right?
Oh, tell us about it.
So informed delivery, I think, is the greatest thing that the United States Post Office has done probably since the Pony Express. It's where you sign up at USPS.gov. You basically give them your address, and they ask you a few questions to confirm that you live at that address. And what happens is every morning about 6 to 7 a.m., you will get a scan of everything that's going to arrive in your mailbox that day, which is, I like doing it. And I'll tell you some of the benefits of that, besides just the novelty of it. Is that bill coming? Or if you're a kid, hey, maybe my report card's coming, I better get to the mailbox. But everyone that lives in the house knows. So if you have a family of 3 or 4 people, and one guy goes and gets the mail and throws away what they think is junk, no one else ever sees that mail. This way, everyone who lives at that address gets a scanned copy of the outside of that mail piece. So again, you're getting 2 to 4.
You froze on my end. Did someone else call? You're a popular guy.
Someone's got to create an app that blocks all calls and texts while you're on a live.
Oh, I'll show you how to do this afterwards. You can put do not disturb on your phone. Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. I was thinking you can't put an airplane mode or we couldn't do this.
Yeah.
But the informed delivery, back to that, it's another exposure point for a mailing piece. Everyone in the house they'll see it in the mailbox, well, hopefully, unless someone throws it away, or anyone that's subscribed will see that mailing piece. And now we take it a step further. What the post office is making available to marketers and printers and mailers is underneath that black and white scan, you can put a 4-color piece of artwork or creative, which again should be similar to the mailing piece or similar to your message, and a link to where you can click through and take advantage. The post office through API will provide you with click statistics and viewed statistics. And again, we're working on integrating that as part of our platform where they can see that. So again, we're taking an old world piece of technology and bringing it to the digital age. And they've got 5.4, as of Friday, they had 5.4 million people on informed delivery. They're gaining about 10,000 a day, and they've got a directive from the Postmaster General to have 20 million people by May 1st. So they're going to be doing TV and marketing ads to get people to sign up. So again, another great product that's going to enhance good old world mail delivery.
Can you talk to us about sort of moving over? I want to hear about a very specific campaign that you've run, and just walk me through the logistics of that campaign, what types of physical mail they did, and then how that related to the online world, and then how you tracked it. I think that might give some more tangible.
I'll tell you about one we're doing right now. It's for a grocery chain in a small local regional grocery store in Wisconsin. And they're mailing 300,000 pieces over the course. I think they're going to do it over about 6 weeks. So it's 10 to 20,000 a week, and it's an oversized postcard. And they have opted in for all of our services: the Google retargeting, the Facebook, the call tracking, and so far we're about halfway through the mailing of that. They're getting, when they were to mail that for, let's say, they would have gotten their 300,000 pieces out the door. But they're getting on top of that, just from Google alone, about 2.3 additional impressions per person for that mail piece through the Google. And we're getting about 1.3 additional views on Facebook. So from the one mailing piece, they were getting 1. And now if you add those two, it's almost 4 additional views per piece. So if you add the mail piece plus the 4, that's 5 impressions from what used to be just 1. Now that's an ongoing campaign, but they're getting because of the numbers, it's thousands a day. You know, obviously
Yeah.
they're mailing 10 to 20,000 a week, but they're getting thousands of additional impressions a day. So now it's hard to quantify that because they're walking into the store.
Sure.
But think of the brand awareness they're building in the community. You know, think of the additional, they're getting thousands of new likes on their Facebook page, which is creating another vehicle to hit these customers before, you know, and this was people that would have never seen the Facebook page. How likely are they going to go and I'll sign up for the Facebook page? But when they click on the ad or they keep seeing the ad for that store and their 10% off coupon, now they're getting new likes for their Facebook page. So they're building an audience that they'll be able to repeat advertise to without the expense of the mailing in the future. Not that I want to take away from mailings, but they're using the mailing to not only drive customers in their store, but to build their social media following as well. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's, you know, it cuts. It's a huge addition to just the mailing by itself.
Yeah. Well, imagine just starting that conversation too, right? It's like maybe that they, you know, they can take that offline piece where they may have not been apt to interact with other pieces to start the conversation, but they see the piece and then they're like, all right, well, now I can see them on Facebook, and you sort of build an awareness of the brand understanding in that process.
Huge. And then, you know, now that if they like the page or they've liked the post, they're going to get all the other posts that come up for that brand.
Yeah.
So you've kind of, I mean, it's not the same as getting their email address, but in some cases it's almost better, because as you go through your Facebook feed, you're probably seeing the same things over and over. You're really getting familiar with those few things that you've liked or you've clicked on. So again, it's about the number of impressions. You know, if you think old school, I got one mailing into someone's mailbox, and now that's equaling dozens and dozens of impressions that carry on for weeks or months. A pixel is good for a year. So technically, you're being hit with that same message for up to a year before it expires.
I think that the interesting thing here is that you, if the client is, you know, uses that data inside of Facebook, they can say, here's who I should target on the next mailing, right? Based on my engagement in Facebook, now I have some understanding of who my customers are, who's likely to engage in a direct mail piece, and then how I can get my word out to people that maybe haven't yet engaged with me.
Exactly. It's, you know, it's such a good point you bring up, because, you know, I like to study the next generation and give you an example. So the 1990s was all about the killer app of email, you know, and the 2000s, it was all about the rollout and development and acceptance of e-commerce platforms, you know, and being able to shop online. Going into the 2010s and 2020s, it's going to be about machine learning and predictive analytics and artificial intelligence. So one of the things that the directions we're going into, if you've got an idea of who your customers are, now you can take those customer lists and response lists, feed them back into big data sort of analytics, and say, here's who you should really be targeting, because these are your most likely customers. You know, so you're taking the information that you're sort of getting, who's trickling through your traditional marketing efforts, and now you're getting a higher ROI, churning those back out and targeting those guys specifically. And that's actually where we want to go. Give us your customer list. We'll churn it with analytics and big data on a broader scale, and we'll specifically target like people like that and bring in those customers to you.
Wow. You guys will provide physical addresses?
Yes.
Wow.
We're working with a third-party vendor. We're just talking about a collaboration to where we do that. And we've got our first taste of it. And this is a new feature that Facebook just started a few months ago when they acquired a huge consumer database company. But one of the things we're doing, it's one of our new product called Social Match, where we take the mailing list. We actually upload the mailing list back to Facebook. Facebook is able to match 40 to 60% of those addresses. So before the mailing even hits, what we do is we take the mailing list, we create a custom audience in Facebook, so they're already being delivered the imagery that's going to end up in their mailbox. So, and we concentrate those deliveries between a few days before and about a week or two after that mailing, and it's concentrated in that 14-day period around the mailing. So even if they don't click on the website and they don't get pixeled or cookied, they're still going to see that imagery by going on their Facebook feed. So,
You could upload addresses to Facebook? I didn't know that.
name, address, and zip. And we're getting about between 40 to 60%. We got on one list, it was a dance studio. They were mailing to their local area to get, after school dance for kids. And we got a 95% match to the parent. Unbelievable.
Maybe they all worked at Facebook.
I couldn't believe the closest, I think we got a 71, but I actually thought it was a mistake. It's in the Philadelphia area, and I was blown away with the 95% match.
Well, I've seen services that do email to address, address to email. They actually, this company used to do address to Facebook ID, but I think because Facebook has taken this in-house, that now Facebook is doing it directly. And then this company will do lookalike audiences, but you need something like 10,000 people to be able to, because they just give you general stats. Like,
that makes sense.
So if I were to leave sort of with one impression of where direct mail 3.0 is, I know you're direct mail 2.0, but what do you see as, you talked a little about AI, like what do you see as the next steps, both in your product and also just in the industry of direct mail generally?
I see, I guess there's the direction of hyper-personalization, which is very popular right now. A lot of people are like getting it, and I think for bigger ticket items, it makes sense, but you still need that sort of broad swath sometimes to capture a lot of people. So I think you're going to find improvements in the hyper-personalization, which is, by the way, very expensive, and sometimes for mid-level or cheaper products, it's hard to justify that cost of hyper-personalization. You're looking at almost $1 plus per piece sent, with all the services. So there needs to be a lower price point, which is where we are, where we're more broad. We don't have the hyper-personalization, so we don't have to be at that $1 plus per mailing piece. And I think you'll see those two services both move into the big data analytics or artificial intelligence sort of learning. I really think that's the place. They'll be able to keep refining their capabilities. With the hyper-personalization, I think you're going to see the prices go higher because it's so, it's so personalized with pearls and I think it's just there's a lot of work involved. But in the broad swath, I think you'll get a lower cost because you don't have to do quite the work. And, they're becoming very conscious of the acquisition cost per customer. And for lower products under $1,000, the hyper-personalization is just too expensive.
Yeah. We're actually doing a campaign where we'll show a picture of your roof from space, and we'll give you the hours of sunlight per year and the amount of square feet available on your roof for solar panels. But we can do that because solar panels are expensive, and even if you can get a handful of houses converted, like the ROI makes sense.
Right, but that's on a product that's $15,000, $20,000. What do you do on a product that's $75 or $80?
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to afford that kind of service.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on doing every door direct mail where you don't choose addresses, you just choose carrier routes versus actually individualized addresses with targeting? Have you guys experimented with both of those?
We're actually building a piece of our platform out to do that. We get a lot of requests for that. And I think that we haven't done any campaigns with that specifically because what it does is it nulls part of the information we get back from the post office, because we get projected delivery dates, we get actual delivery dates on every door direct mail. We can't get that. Yeah. So it nullifies one of our KPIs. However, when we keep adding these other things, I think we'll be able to still do something with that, even though we don't get statistics from the post office. So it's on our roadmap. It's one of our top 5 things that we want to build out because there's a lot of demand at the lower end. People, like I said, not everybody can spend $1 per mailing piece.
Yeah. It's always I always have a conversation with my clients to say, like, look, do you want a wide reach, right? You're going to lower your costs to be able to do this. But I had one I shouldn't out my particular postman, but he dropped an entire stack of these EDM postcards just on the, in my building's common area. Right. So instead of actually placing it in the mail cart, so it's like, oh no, those people paid to get mail, in each of these mailboxes, and it didn't happen because it wasn't individually addressed.
But that was what, 16 cents or something, maybe not even.
Yeah. It was ridiculously cheap. So right. Almost the cost of an email, if you think about the fully loaded cost. So is there anything else you want to leave us with about what you guys are up to next? Like, you want to talk about your 5 priorities, or what should we be thinking about if we're doing our first direct mail campaign? What should we be thinking about? And then leave us with some sort of final thoughts.
I would, for me, I mean, maybe I'm biased, but I find it hard to do just a direct mail without doing some sort of ROI add-on, and that's usually going to include something on digital. So I can tell you, I'm looking at ways to cheaply deliver offline to online ROI tracking for direct mail. That's my mission in life, you might say. And if I can find a product that I can deliver that will give someone a better idea for their ROI for a few pennies per piece, or then to me that's worth it, because it's easy for the client to swallow. It will provide them a way more information than they're getting on their current bland or offline mailing. So I'm looking at everything. We're looking at SMS tracking. As I told you, we're looking at informed delivery through the post office. We are looking at predictive analytics based on previous mailings, where they should target their next mailings. There's just so many places to go in this, and it's a technology that's ripe for disruption. And I love it. Disruptors are in, that's where you want to be.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that we found too is there are these companies that see this next phase, right? Like when direct mail is becoming useful again because the mailboxes are not full,
no.
and email marketing is just
full.
not. Yeah, it's full, and people aren't responding. Right?
And I mean, I'll delete whole blocks at a time now and won't even look at them. It's almost, we always used to complain about the junk mail in our mailbox. At this point, the junk mail in our email box is much worse than it is in our mailbox. Yeah. So there's a move backwards towards the offline world, and if we can connect the two, it's a win-win for everybody, All
right, last question, Brad. So if I'm thinking about running a direct mail piece today, what's the one thing that I should do right? Like if I only did one thing.
It still comes down to design and call to action, I think, because you still got the same, 6 seconds or 3 seconds before the person tosses it in the trash or they keep it and put it on the refrigerator. You want your piece to go on the refrigerator. What can you do to make them put the piece on the refrigerator? I mean, that's still the number one thing. Because if they put it on the refrigerator, they're going to go to the website, they're going to make the phone call, they're going to get pixeled, they're going to get tracked, and they're going to see that piece over and over again until they buy. So
yeah, that's one thing that I always have to sort of remind my clients is like, say less. Just like,
yes.
Just like have a great headline, say less, and then have a very, very clear call to action.
Absolutely, because these big postcards are these direct mail pieces that have pages and pages of letters and all. Nobody reads that.
Yeah,
you got 3 seconds. 3 seconds.
3 seconds. All right. Well, thanks so much, Brad. I'll put a link to Direct Mail 2.0 in the comments here. If you have any questions, Brad will be around to answer them. So so send him a message. Thanks, everyone, and take care. Bye, Brad.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Yep.